Before I drop into this video, I wanted to let you know that this is a series. So this video is for the prep. I also have a base coat video and as well a top coat video coming out. So be sure to like, subscribe, and as well drop any questions down below that you might have. Let's get into it. In this video, I wanted to go through the definite guide for how to prep a concrete floor for yourself as a flooring contractor or somebody who's doing it yourself. We've completed a couple hundred floors at this point, so I think we have a little bit of an understanding of what to do for this. But on your very beginning, as you can see here, we have the vacuum and the grinder set up. And you're also going to be wanting to look at your power sources. So for instance, the vacuum's plugged into the wall there, and we do have enough power. Our machine is propane, so we don't have to worry about plugging that in. But if you're running, hand grinders as well as you're running the vacuums, two vacuums on a hand grinder on a corded electrical grinder, you're going to want to make sure that you have enough power beforehand. So generators, usually you can get something like a Westinghouse generator or a Generac are also awesome providers of generators, but it's important to look at that first. And then as you can see, our guys are setting everything up. You also want to obstruct the floor as little as you possibly can so that you uninterruptedly can grind as much as possible onto the floor. And as you can see here, the guys are now doing the Mohs test. So what that's doing is essentially you take a scratch onto the concrete with a bar, and essentially what it's doing is measuring how hard that concrete is. So essentially you start very low and you continue up the grades until you get to where you're starting to actually scratch the concrete. That'll show you what kind of diamonds you need. Do you need soft bond? Do you need hard bond diamonds at that time? We use SACE, so they have all of our tooling that we need onto our machines, but that's something that you're going to want to look into because if you're using the wrong diamonds, you will either not grind the floor whatsoever or you'll just burn through a set of $500 diamonds in like 3 minutes. So as you can see, they're setting up all the vacuums, getting the grind down, and we like to grind with the big machines first and also try to find the best, longest path possible for ourselves. So as you can see, they're grinding backwards, forwards onto this garage here so that they can get the max range onto it, and they're just going to want to overlap just a hair onto this one. This was very soft concrete, so they're able to grind through it pretty crazily fast, as you can see here. And what we're looking for is to ensure that we're getting an amazing cut onto the ground there. So as you can see, all of this concrete is turning pure white, and if you looked at it a little bit closer, you'd find that you could literally see the diamond scratches into the concrete, which is exactly what we're looking for. So as he's continuing to go down there, just going back and forth, and if he sees any areas that don't have enough of a grind onto him, he's going to catch them onto his backswing there for it as he's going back out. So now after he finished that area, he's going to do his final pass right here up against the wall to ensure everything's ground. Then he's going to go to the areas where he used to be just then, and then he's going to swing around for that main maximum swing. We like to grind the whole entire floor as you see here before we do the grinding with the hand grinders onto the corner that you'll see here. And as well, really just depends upon the garage and how much cracking it has, but if it does have any kind of appreciable cracking, you most likely want to do this whole thing here first and then address the cracks, because again, we're trying to be efficient with the processes, but sometimes when you repair the cracks right now, you wouldn't be able to grind the whole entire floor over, and then you could waste some time there. So they're finishing up the last bits of the prep here onto the floor, and as you can kind of see in the middle of the floor there, the cracks are present onto the floor. The customer, it used to be raining the day before, so they had parked their car into the garage, and so you'll see shortly we had to burn a little bit of the residual water onto it. Ideally that doesn't happen, but this was just an oversight on the customer side of things there. But as you can see, he's got the full diamond grind across the whole entire floor, and then what they're going to do is just the last bits of it that are necessary, and then afterwards take all the diamonds off of the machine, get our crack patch ready for ourselves. It's just a part A and a part B, and all of the supplies that we use ourselves are from Resinworks. We find that they have the best pricing, and you can get quick shipping, usually just 2 days. And as you can see here, he's taking an angle grinder through those cracks so that we can clean them out, get rid of any dust, any contaminants, and as well so that we can increase the surface profile of those cracks so that when we do fill them, they have the best part to bind, and then afterwards vacuum in over all of the additional cracks so that all the dust is out for our binder to fit in there. Now he's burning this a little bit more. As I was saying, what they did was they parked the car in there beforehand, and moisture, any kind of crack repair is definitely not going to work for you. So it's important to get rid of those as much as you can. And as you can see, he's grinding it in. And then what our guy over here is doing is he's mixing up the part A, part B, and then just a little bit of sand into that mixture. These cure really quick with resin works. They're kinetic patch. So what we're trying to do is to be able to put that out within 5 minutes, because it rock hard solids very quickly and starts to become more of a slurry. So they're working together and working in small batches during that time so that they can ensure that they're able to actually get it down and to overfill the joints as well too, so that when we do go and grind it off afterwards, they do have a seamless floor all the way through afterwards. So continuing to mix up more product, making sure that everything is overfilled. And as you can see through time, what happens with this material is it goes from more of a blackish color into a grayish color as it's curing. And you can feel it too as well, where it's starting to harden up and go into a more gray form. Why we do this is because we are trying to install something that has some flexibility into it, while also making the whole entire floor seamless for the epoxy afterwards for the customers onto that. So as you can see, they're starting to harden up. They're starting to get lighter gray onto that, and he is using now the Rack Attack. We love this thing. It is a lifesaver. They cost about $200 to $300, but as you can see, he's not having to be on his hands and knees. He's well supported and able to just zip by using his feet to be able to go through all the corners there. And now, since the grinder could only get up, about 1 to 2 inches off of that wall, what he has to do at that time is to be able to go in with the hand grinder afterwards so we can finish that last edge. Now, people don't drive onto these things, but it is just an absolute great thing to do so that you don't have any failures or any issues with your floors into the future for yourself. And now he's finishing up the last bit here. So our customer wanted to stop the coating at the garage door. So as you can see, we have drawn a tape line or a chalk line onto that, and then afterwards we use that same angle grinder to cut that edge completely square onto that, and now he's just trenching it out and finishing that last bit there for you. So we like to, instead of just having the coating go straight up to itself here, this edge that he's grinding, we like to grind that down a little bit so that you actually have a termination point onto that, as in like trenching the coating onto there so that you don't have an abrupt edge for when somebody's going to be driving their cars onto it, and as well anything that's brought in and outside of the garage for them. As well as for any moisture that builds up, you do want to have that trenched edge there too. As you can see, he's just finishing up that last bit there, taking a little hand grinder onto that to be able to clean up any of that residual, because you want the whole entire floor to be seamless. And as well, sometimes we use the big grinder as you see later, but the goal as well is, and to think about it, is that if you already ground the whole floor with the grinder and then you come back with the grinder in a very, very flat, straight path, as you can see, he kind of like staggers the machine as he's grinding these out, as opposed to just going straight. Because if you're grinding too much into those areas and you put too much work into it, you'll start to depress the whole entire concrete base there. Now, it won't be too noticeable, but at the same time, it is definitely still noticeable. It'll be almost kind of like a cornrow kind of effect there, where you see those bits look a little bit lower into the coating at the end of the day. So afterwards, we want an absolute glass looking seamless floor, so that's very important. So as you can see, everything was now ground and vacuumed up as he's doing that there. Now, the method that we like to use onto that would be to have the edge of the vacuum not absolutely flat from the very beginning. So we like to raise it up just a bit so it's collecting all the residual, as you can kind of see where he has his hand there. Lift it up a little bit so that it's not super suction to the floor, but it's still picking up all the remnants. And then afterwards, on that pull back, he has it completely flat and he's just pulling it down and letting all that end up getting vacuumed out afterwards. So as you can see, the goal being that the floor does not have any residual dust onto it, or absolutely extremely minimal onto there. And then now what we like to do is we like to caulk in that edge right there so that the customer has a nice easy area. If they want to clean it into the future, it's got a nice end point right there for them. So after all the vacuum is completed, we are on to the base coat, and that is all I have for you all today. If you'd like, be sure to subscribe. We're going to be putting out how to prep or how to base coat a floor, as well as the whole top coat process as well for you into the future. So be sure to like, subscribe. Hope you all have a great day. Peace.